This segment is brought to you by Terrebonne Ford, built Ford tough.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Bayou Time. Harry McCullough here. I'm going to check in with the Terrebonne Parish Sheriff's Office, and for that, First Lieutenant Blake Tabor. Blake, thanks for being with us, man. So, good old-fashioned police work, right? Guys really just kind of doing a patrol led to a major drug bust.
Absolutely. So this was a good one. You know, there's a lot of different areas in Houma where we constantly get tips and anonymous tips from different people in the community. And, of course, the one that we went to on Monday turned out to be a pretty good tip. So this happened at the First Class Apartments, which is in the 7400 block of West Main Street. So our narcotics division approached that area after repeated tips of drug activity that was happening in that particular area. And as they got into the parking lot, they observed a vehicle that was occupied. It was not in a parking space. And of course, any of our seasoned narcotics agents know that it certainly looked like someone was there parking and there to pick up something and to get out really quickly. That was an indicator of some suspicious activity, obviously. And so as they approached that vehicle, they happened to look to the second floor of that particular apartment complex, where they noticed a Danny Ray Howard Sr., 36-year-old male from Houma. You see him photographed here. As soon as our agents noticed Mr. Howard, they knew immediately that he had some outstanding warrants through the 32nd Judicial District for some distribution of illegal narcotics. So at that point, our agents quickly diverted away from the vehicle and immediately tried to contact him on the second floor. As they were doing so, a second male suspect exited of an apartment, and as soon as he saw the authorities, he quickly re-entered that apartment, and of course, it doesn't take a genius to figure out that that is pretty suspicious behavior. So ultimately, when they got to the apartment, Mr. Howard was quickly taken into custody without an incident, and ultimately, as they approached that door, they smelled a very strong odor of marijuana coming from that apartment. Ultimately, they were able to call that particular person out, and who was later identified as a Melick DeJohn Robinson, 30 years of age. You see him photographed here. He was the one that came out of the apartment and retreated back in. And they also found an additional occupant of that apartment who was called out and not charged in connection with this crime or identified in connection with this crime. So ultimately, as they began that investigation, they secured a search warrant for that particular apartment. And once they got inside the apartment, they were able to determine that Robertson was attempting to discard of some of the illegal drugs that was in his possession at the time of the initial view. But ultimately, at the completion of that, it turned out to be a really good narcotics for us. Ultimately, it landed 2 pounds of methamphetamines, approximately 9 pounds of marijuana, over 5 grams of crack cocaine, 10 pills of an unprescribed medication, a number of drug paraphernalia that's consistent with distribution, and as well as $4,300 in cash, and you see it photographed here. This is a substantial recovery of evidence for a one case.
Yeah, so I mean, that's right off of Main Street.
Right off of Main Street.
They're not hiding it too much, right? So I mean, not really.
Yeah, no,
smart.
look, this is a major.
Guys can see it by driving by, basically.
Absolutely, this is a major thoroughfare, and especially during Mardi Gras. I mean, this is a highly populated area. There's, as we just spoke about before going on air, there's some really good restaurants in that area where people frequent. It becomes a recipe for disaster and danger whenever that amount of drugs is around that many children in that type of neighborhood, you know?
Yeah, well, across the street used to be that Stanley, used
Absolutely.
to be an A&P. That's where I used to shop as a kid. But it's turned into a rougher area that a lot of people are probably trying to clean it up. That's why you're getting calls trying to get this behavior out.
And look, the residents deserve to live in an area that's not infiltrated by drugs and
that's what I'm saying.
Crime activity, and they are tired of it. We're tired of it, and it's time to get it cleaned up. And this is just another situation, another example of an everyday battle between law enforcement and the criminal element, but again, we won this one. We're proud of this one. And it ultimately resulted in the arrest of Danny Ray Howard Sr. on some charges, along with Melick DeJohn Robinson. And I'm just going to name the charges because they were both pretty synonymous with each other. But both men were charged with 2 counts of possession with intent to distribute CDS-2, possession with intent to distribute CDS-4, possession with intent to distribute CDS1, possession of drug paraphernalia, transactions involving proceeds from drug offenses, and also Mr. Howard was arrested for some additional warrants as we discussed first. But Mr. Howard is currently incarcerated on a $256,000 bond, and Mr. Robertson on a $500,000 bond.
I didn't see weapons or any weapons.
No weapons. No weapons were recovered.
Which is good. And I mean,
Correct. And look, that's something that we always see, right? Typically when there's narcotics in those amounts, normally a weapon is
right.
not far behind.
And that's an issue. I remember a couple of Mardi Gras ago, they confiscated 20-something, guns in that area.
Absolutely. And look, this is not indicating that this is the only area of concern for us in the parish, but it's certainly rewarding whenever someone gives some anonymous tips.
That's what I was about to say.
And we can go there and substantiate the claims that are being made by, these law-abiding citizens and do our best to clean that up for them.
Like I said, nobody needs to live like that. And to have people call in and say, hey, we need some help, you guys respond, do a good job. Like I said, I used to shop at that same shop center all the time. We grew up right there. So it's good that the citizens are now saying, hey, look, help us clean this stuff up.
Absolutely, and that's what we're here for.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, good arrest, man. We appreciate it. Have a happy holidays and continue to go Terriers, right?
That's right.
He's got a son on that team. All right. We'll be right back with more Bayou Time right after this.
This segment was brought to you by Terrebonne Ford, built Ford tough.